Hey everyone, welcome back to Found Finances. If this is your first time here, my name is Zoe and welcome. I wanted to take time in this video to give space to a common experience of disruption that a lot of people are feeling of graduating in a place and at a time that nobody anticipated or thought they would be doing. And to do that, I thought I'd share a little bit about my experience of graduating during COVID-19, some tips and takeaways that I've been finding helpful during this time, and also my plan for the immediate and somewhat long-term future and how all of this has impacted those plans. So I want to talk about what my experience has been like graduating in quarantine. My situation is a little bit unique. I started out this semester online due to kind of a bunch of fluke situations falling into place that I ended up not being on campus. I ended up moving back to California, where I'm originally from, and took all of my last classes online. I also, because I had moved back to California and didn't really have a lot of ties back to Boston where I went to university, I didn't plan on going to my graduation either. I hadn't bought a ticket back to Boston. I had no plans on going back to Massachusetts, and I thought that my family, opposed to spending so much money on flights and hotels to come out to visit me and celebrate my graduation on the East Coast, we could gather that money together and spend it some other way and have a celebration here at home so that, my elderly grandparents and my family with special needs and disabilities could also join me in this experience. So going into 2020, I had no desire to go to, well, I don't know if I didn't have any desire to go to my graduation. I think it would have been a really cool experience and also a symbolic gesture to kind of mark the end of something, to really feel like I could close a chapter. I feel like that event could really help expedite that feeling of sorts. But yeah, so no graduation was in plan, and no graduation ended up happening for anybody. The biggest feeling that's kind of come through in the past couple weeks after finishing classes has been the feeling of there not being a clear line between the beginning of my new life and the end of my academic life. It's all kind of bled into one where no beginning and end is really clear. And I think that experience has bred a good amount of anxiety of just, what am I doing with my life? I don't have to log into class anymore. So how am I spending my days, and what's really my trajectory or my plan after this? But when I have been getting caught up in those thoughts of not having a clear line or path after college because of all of this shelter in place, I have been trying to take the time to think, okay, wait, what would my life be looking like right now if there wasn't COVID-19 and I had just graduated? What would I be doing? And I realized that this is a time for celebration. That's what this whole thing is about, is celebrating the academic achievements that you've made throughout your course of, whether it's college or just your entire time being in school, which has pretty much been our whole life. Anyone who's graduating right now, most of your conscious existence has been in school, and so finishing that is, one, a huge deal, but two, a really good cause for celebration. So when I think about it that way, that kind of gives me a little bit more peace in thinking that right now I should be celebrating my accomplishments, reflecting on my time in school, and yeah, also thinking about what's next, but to kind of just take the pressure off that, to remember that we're here because we've achieved something, and that achievement is a pretty big deal. And so to not beat yourself up about the what next questions. But also, kind of in line with that, there have been a lot of questions kind of circling my brain over this time about, where am I going to live? Where am I going to move to? If I'm going to move anywhere? Who's hiring? Where can I get a job? When can I get a job? And then the normal questions of, what do I want to get a job in, which come with graduating in and of itself, minus the pandemic aspect of the whole situation. How do I network? How do I make connections? What should I be doing right now? Are there things that everyone else is doing that I should also be on top of? Those are just some of the anxiety-inducing questions about my future that have been coming up in this time, these past 2 weeks since finishing my classes. Now, I know for a lot of people, my experience is not similar to yours. You were in school, on campus, at university, living your own life, doing your own thing, going to classes, and then all of a sudden this huge disruption happened where you either moved home, stayed at school but in your apartment, and began sheltering in place. And with that came the loss of so many experiences that you've been anticipating and looking forward to. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that if you haven't already, and say, hey, this was a loss of something that I had really wanted to happen, and that makes me feel X. I think being in quarantine can heighten the feelings of unproductivity and overall blobbiness. And I just want to say, whatever way it takes for you to process whatever's happened and the things that you've lost and the experiences you're not going to be able to have anymore because of this, whatever that is super valid. So I also think, on top of celebrating, that acknowledging the things that have happened to you that feel shitty is really important in this time too. Okay, so I also wanted to go over some tips that I've come up with that I thought could be helpful for A, celebrating yourself, and B, finding out what's next and figuring out what starting life will look like for you in this unique time. So with regards to starting life and getting the ball rolling, a couple of things that have at least started to help me. I can't see how the end product will look like down the line because I'm in the process of it all right now, but what started to help me, at least, or it seemed helpful, is really focusing on online networking, right? Because that's what we really can be doing while we're stuck at home, is connecting with people through the internet. So the first tip I have is bump up your LinkedIn game. Now is a perfect time to update that profile picture. I know that mine until last week was from my high school graduation invitation cards. The picture we put on that was my LinkedIn photo. Update any work experience you've had. I know that LinkedIn now also has, not now, but this is a new feature to me. It's been around for a minute. You can write articles or posts for LinkedIn and it'll show up on anyone who you're connected with's feed. That's another way to heighten your visibility on that platform. If you don't have a LinkedIn, I highly recommend, if you're graduating right now, creating one. That's a great starting off point to starting networking and really building whatever career community you want to manifest. LinkedIn's a great starting point. So make that account, research what you need to make your account look pretty, but LinkedIn really has a good intuitive landscape to it to help you create the best profile you can. The other one is look at whatever your university has to offer with regards to career counseling. I know for my university, they've created and really ramped up their career counseling resources and also continue to offer them to alumni or, graduating seniors. And just gaining any type of insight or advice from anyone has been helpful for me in just kind of conceptualizing what's going on right now. I know that my school also offers drop-in career advising, just help, where you can ask them whatever questions you need, or have a mock interview, or hey, does my resume look good? Does the formatting check out? How do these bullet points sound? So taking advantage of any resources your university has, since this is the last chance you really will get to because you're graduating, can be really helpful. I think with any type of job search right now, and at any point in your life, it's really critical to think about and understand what the employer's main priorities are right now. If you can think about that and come up with a list of what you think that employer is looking for right now and what they're focusing most of their attention on, you can then curate how you present yourself and the assets you bring to that company in a way that also fits their needs. And that's really critical for just general employment, but also thinking about that in the COVID sense of what that means for companies, whether or not that means they're not looking to hire at all, or if they are, they're looking to hire this specific person or this type of person or this role. Things like that can be really helpful to making a more effective use of your time while you're looking for jobs. Then the other tip I have is hit up your network. So whatever network you've created or just started working on throughout your life or your college experience, these are assets for you now in this time. These are people who already know you, who you've made some type of connection with and shown that you are capable of whatever skills you have, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, look, I've just graduated, this is what I've graduated in, these are the skills I have, or whatever you feel comfortable sharing, but basically a notification to them of like, hey, I'm looking for work, I'm really interested in whatever you have to do or your general field. If you know anyone, or if you don't want to do that all in one email, but just send a starter email of like, hey, I'm graduating and would love to touch base about whatever you've been working on, XYZ, and then create a time to virtually meet or call, and in that conversation bring up, hey, I'm really interested in working in XYZ area. If you have any connections there, I would love to talk with any of your network. Things like that to start the ball rolling and create a more person-to-person, intimate relationship with regard to your employment, opposed to just putting your resume into some database of thousands and thousands of resumes that other companies are going through and just siphoning through with keywords, things like that, where you can really get lost between the cracks of that. So if you're looking for a job and you're looking to start your life in that sense, going to the people who know you first and seeing what connections they have that can help you is a really good starting point. All right, and so I also wanted to share in this video tips that I thought would be helpful for making this time memorable, because at least for me, the biggest thing has been the feeling of everything bleeding together and none of this standing out as a really special time in anyone's life. So for me, I did like a Zoom celebration with my friends and family, and we all toasted, as a celebration for my graduation. And that was really nice in a way to feel acknowledged. I think that can be a really good tool for appreciation and also allowing your family to celebrate you as well, or your friends and family. If you're with other people in your quarantine situation, setting up like a graduation brunch or a graduation dinner of any sorts where you all sit around the table and this meal is meant to celebrate you and your accomplishments, can also be a way to feel like, hey, this is what I did to celebrate this thing. What goes hand in hand with that is dressing up for these situations. So I know for me, I've been in my pajamas for a lot of this quarantine. It can feel and make your headspace feel a lot different if you put on makeup, or just get into some nicer clothes than your everyday wear can make a difference. And then I think, like I said at the beginning of this video, reflecting on your time in school and what this new chapter of your life is going to feel like in relation to that. So that can look like scrolling through your camera roll and creating a folder of your college experience photos so you can remember all those different times you had freshman, sophomore, junior year. Or if you're someone who likes to take a lot of videos, creating a video compilation of just different memories throughout your college experience can be a really cool way to sum up what's happened. Or just sitting down and journaling some of the most memorable times, maybe some academic things that made you feel really good, some of your favorite teachers, the people that you met that you liked the most, the organizations you were really happy to be a part of, the different places you lived if you moved a lot around campus. Just lists of things like that to really reflect and say, hey, this 4 years is a start and an end point, all of the things that happened in between and how that made you feel. I think one of the biggest things that can come up for people right now too is a feeling of being out of control, and I think not having that solid endpoint or defining moment of the end of your experience can also contribute to that feeling of being out of control, that everything's just happening to you and you have no real control over the trajectory of your life right now. I think these are some ways that can help with that, but also just being conscious if that resonated with you, what I just said, being like, hey, how do I find ways that work for me to feel like I'm in control, that are healthy and balanced? I also wanted to share with you guys what my plan is for the next year or so. So last week, once I finished my classes, one day I took the time I have like a roll of butcher paper, and I like to mind map things out and just kind of dump shit on a page. But in that, I wanted to try and write out my 3-year plan, what my 3-year plan looked like. And if you guys have any interest in learning more about that, I'd be happy to post how I like to think about 3-year plans and what I like to add or, imagine. But in that, I obviously created what my 1-year plan looks like. So before COVID-19 happened, I was planning on graduating in California. And then at the end of May, I was going to travel for 3 months, which obviously is not happening anymore. And so I'm trying to figure out how to refund all my flights and everything right now for that. But so that obviously shifted my idea, at least for the summer. And so I'd been thinking, I was going to travel for 3 months from May to August, and then I was going to move, find a job, and live somewhere indefinitely and start my life as a career woman doing my own thing. Now, it seems like all of that is just going to get pushed back because my main goal, I've saved enough money for this 3-month travel. I really want to see that happen. And I think one of the things that can make that really hard to execute is being in a long-term job that doesn't easily give you 3 months off of work, and also trying to climb the ladder of whatever industry you're in. Momentum is key in that. So starting off, working in September or now or what have you, and then all of a sudden next year, stopping for 3 months can be detrimental in some ways to your career trajectory. So I didn't really have an interest in doing that, in finding a job and moving somewhere right now, and then next year when travel was okay to go leave for 3 months. So instead, I've created a new plan. I don't know how well this will turn out or how closely this will actually look to my real life, but the plan for right now is that for the next 2 months, I'm going to be saving as much as I can. So like I've said in other videos, I'm currently on unemployment, so I'm saving money every week from that. My goal is to save as much money as possible from that. And then starting July 1st, I'm going to move to wherever I want to move. And I'm going to decide that based on the idea that I'm going to be in this place for a year. That's what I'm giving myself. Wherever I am, a year, and then I'm going to travel. So I don't know where that'll be, but I'm planning on either subletting or signing a lease for a year somewhere, and then during that time getting a job that can support me, but a job that I'd also be happy leaving with a 2-week notice. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be a part of my industry, but I'm not inherently looking for a job in the industries that I'm interested in. I'm rather looking for a job that I can really leave at home, or sorry, leave at work, come home, do my own thing, also pay my rent. And so the plan is to do that until hopefully around April or May of 2021, and then take that 3-month time off to go travel like I'd wanted to, starting in May. And then whenever I end up getting back, hopefully have a job in hand, move to wherever that job is located, and then kind of start life. What I was planning to do in September, really doing in September of next year. So everything is, because of this, kind of delayed a year for me. So I'm telling myself that it's okay to spend the next 8 or 9 months working a job that I didn't think I would have been, spending time really enjoying life and experiencing a new place, and then starting my career and what I've been wanting to do a year later isn't going to be that bad. So that's my 1-year plan, COVID-19 edition, and how it's shifted from what I originally thought my plan for my life was going to look like. So yeah, and those are my tips on helping you with starting your life in quarantine and making this time memorable for people who are graduating right now. I hope these tips have been helpful. I hope hearing about my own experience and my plan has been helpful also in shaping or inspiring you wherever you are in your journey, and helping you think about what it feels like to graduate in a super weird, strange time. So that's it for this video. My name's Zoe. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any comments, questions, please leave them down in the comments box below. I'd be happy to respond to any of those. And if you have any other video requests, anything you'd like to see on this, if it's COVID-19 finance related, or if it's money related in some other capacity. I know this video wasn't super money related, but rather like future network oriented. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you did, or if you'd rather be seeing more money specific videos. I'd be happy to create more of those as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.